most people homeless within 4 years due to climate change.
Either you're what, homeless overnight? And it's not just PhDs at universities that are saying that. Insurance companies are too.
Individuals and communities that are relying entirely on public disaster aid are going to suffer the greatest in the wake of a disaster.
Samantha Medlock has a resume ranging from an executive with insurance giant Willis Towers Watson,
affordable clean energy and new jobs,
to an environmental advisor to President Obama. I think people have this expectation that, like, well, this is my house, this is my community, and no matter what, like, we will rebuild. Like, you hear that all the time in the wake of disasters.
we're going to rebuild, John.
We'll rebuild. We'll definitely rebuild.
Yeah, but that's maybe not always the right response. Is that sort of where we're getting to?
Indeed. Yeah. And is that really the best use of federal taxpayer investment? Wouldn't it make more sense to focus on getting out ahead of the disaster? That's not what federal disaster aid was designed to do, and that's not how it's playing out for communities in the wake of these big storms.
Think of the Camp Fire, wiping the town of Paradise, California off the map.
We'll be all right.
As levees like these were breached today,
Or Hurricane Katrina, forcing 1.5 million from their homes. 600,000 of them never came back. That is climate migration in America. It has been happening, but to better understand what will happen next, I went to Boulder, to the National Center for Atmospheric Research, to talk with James Doan.
A new horizon of climate science is to understand connected high-impact weather events. So events that can come in groups that we've never seen before. So like 2 hurricanes hitting the same location in 2 consecutive weeks that then may trigger flash floods over burn scars and this kind of thing.
So essentially weather phenomena that we don't even have a name for right now.
Exactly. So unique combinations of heat waves, flash floods that we've never seen in sort of close succession. We don't know what the impacts are.
That's a really important shift, that for humans to no longer be able to look at the past as an indicator of what tomorrow might be like. I mean, that's a huge shift in the way we just approach the world.
So, it's like driving a car, looking in a rearview mirror. You don't know what's coming up. These events are now happening in a world where there's more of us, a higher proportion of us live on vulnerable coastlines, say California or Florida, and so we really live in a new era of climate risk that we haven't really tested before.
And those tests will only get tougher, more deadly, if we don't start taking action now. The difficult truth is that more and more places across America just won't be places where we can live anymore. And that's why we all need to start having conversations that we'd probably rather avoid. Conversations we have been avoiding. Conversations about where we call home.
And help folks understand you may be the last member of your family to occupy the old homestead.
in our lifetimes, there will be great despair and great loss of life and great loss of wealth that will come with climate change. The real question is, those of lesser means, particularly in a society with growing inequality, how do they adapt? How can they afford to adapt? How can they even afford to move somewhere else to start a new life? That's the challenge ahead, and we have to make a decision about what we want to protect and what we want to let go.
Because just on the other side of that second orange fence, you're about to see a train come by. This is an Amtrak and commuter rail line. Before the pandemic, this rail line was carrying some 4 million passengers a year. You can see the trains moving pretty slowly. That's because they said, hey, we can't have these big, heavy trains moving through here too quickly. It's just too dangerous. And on the other side of the train tracks are people's homes. So there's a lot at stake here. And it's also people's lives, because just a few miles down the beach in this direction, in late 2019, 3 people were just lying in the sand, sunbathing, when a cliff fell on top of them and killed all 3. So that happened 2019. This happened 6 or 7 weeks ago. And then New Year's Eve, just a few months ago, another cliff collapsed a couple miles down the beach in this direction. So there is a threat that is here on the West Coast. It's not just sea level rise, it is coastal erosion. Scientists and engineers are working hard to try to figure out how to engineer around, how to offset some of the worst impacts of climate change. But the reality is that climate change is already here, and we've got to have some conversations about what we do next. Ashley, back to you.
Hit the subscribe button. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the subscribe button.